All right, VeeFam, we're back with another very, very special episode of the VeeFam Sessions. I'm here with the one, the only Alyssa Stevens. Alyssa, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome, so good, and so excited to talk to you. I we haven't had the privilege to meet, but I've been your story caught my radar on Twitter somewhere along the way, and the more I read into you and the more I saw people say about you, I was just so excited to chat with you and hear your story firsthand. So, what better way to begin? Could you just give us like a 55-second brief overview of your story before pre NFTs, let's call it?
Okay, pre-NFTs, I've always just loved making art. I guess been an artist. I never used to call myself that, but just kind of like did it for fun as a hobby, especially like in high school because we had to do like a sport activity every day after school. And so like during those years, I really developed my style and like kind of realized what art meant to me and that it's more than just creating something that looks good. It's about connecting with yourself and it helps you like process things. It's kind of like journaling for me. And so art just kind of became a huge part of my life. And um, during 2020, when COVID happened, it was my senior year of college. So I got sent home and it was just like a really difficult time in my life. And I turned towards art and I had just got an iPad. So I started making a lot more digital art. And then last year, like 2021, so many people kept talking about NFTs. I love Gary Vee. He always talks about NFTs. And then just people in my own life kept bringing it up. So I kind of took it as a sign to get into NFTs. And so that's kind of how I got into the NFT world. And then I was working a 9 to 5 at a media agency doing social media advertising at the time. So now I'm a full-time NFT artist. So yeah.
Amazing. And there's so much there that I can't wait to dig deeper in. So let's go back a little bit. Because I saw you posted a Twitter picture of you like super young, like elementary school age with art. Were you
Yeah.
were always in art as long as you can remember?
Yeah, I just remember like ever since I was little, I loved drawing. Like I remember I used to make these comics. I wish I still had them. Like I've just always loved doing creative things and so yeah, really my whole life.
And was it any like do you ever remember thinking along the way like, oh, I would love to be an artist. Like that would be my job. Do you ever remember thinking that?
Yeah, all the time. I also really loved like movies and stuff. I was thinking about going to like film or something like that, but I never actually thought I could do it because my family would not be supportive of that. So I went to business school instead.
Interesting. And you ended up
Yeah.
in social media, I read.
Yeah, I started off as a data analyst and I hated it. I had to like learn how to code a little bit and it was just not for me, like the opposite of art pretty much.
Right.
Um, so yeah, then I switched over to social media advertising, which it was better. I kind of enjoyed it.
So interesting. So you obviously like COVID hit everyone in so many different ways, and so I can't imagine. Like I thought about that population, that demographic a lot. Like people graduating, like that was their last hurrah, and you had to go home. Because I got a little bit of a taste of it. I was coaching at the high school level, and I had a huge senior class, and it was our we were slated to win the championship, and everything just got shut down. So
Yeah.
was that I imagine that took an emotional toll on you, as you just said. But so
hmm
was art like an outlet for you? Like, did you turn to that?
Yeah, I think also like throughout my life, I've struggled. Like I feel like I don't talk about this enough, but I've really struggled with my mental health, and I'm trying to be more authentic and share more about myself with everyone. So I think like especially when I was like struggling with like depression and anxiety, which I definitely was like during COVID, I kind of turned towards art because it was a way to help me like cope and like in a way like when I start making art, I usually don't have like an idea of what I want to make in my head. It's more just like I just start drawing and creating and I look at it after and I can see like all these different things that I'm feeling subconsciously and it helps me kind of like better understand it, I guess, in a way. So yeah, it helps me process things.
That's fascinating. So, and I'm thinking, I was scrolling through uh, a lot of your work, which is phenomenal, by the way.
Thank
Um,
you.
but one stuck in my head that you, I think it's titled something along the lines of you rollerblading as a child. So you're drawing that, you're just kind of doing your thing. And then after you look at it and do those memories like come to your head, like walk me through that.
Yeah, sometimes it'll be like I kind of am like thinking about those memories like as I'm creating. It's not like I'm just creating with nothing in mind really, but I just usually don't have a solid plan. But I kind of remember when I created that piece, I was like, a lot of my pieces are centered around childhood and like my own childhood, especially in different memories that for some reason, like I feel like I still like hold very close, and sometimes I don't really know why, but it just feels like a really important moment. And so a lot of my art is kind of centered around that idea.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love the thought, and I also loved how you on your blog, and I'll link it up in the show notes. Definitely check out Alyssa's blog. You do the behind the piece where you explain, you give a little bit of the origin story and the background behind that specific piece. That's fascinating.
Thank
So
you.
I come from an elementary education background, so I know how therapeutic kids are, just natural artists. And that's always the debate, like, is anyone an artist? Like, is this art? And I know you've actually tweeted, I saw that in your feed there, but it's such a natural way for us to communicate. And, as kids, we do it so freely until we're told, stay in the lines, until society sets these boundaries and roadblocks up for us where we just kind of conform and we lose a lot of that. So I love that you're really focusing on those memories and making that public. And I encourage you to still do that because so many, yes, mental health is such a big thing, especially in this space, but people just don't process their emotions. They're not given an outlet. And I think art is a fantastic way. Even myself, my favorite part of teaching, if I think back of it for 10 years, was when I just kind of turned off and I just pulled up a chair next to a kid and just just did whatever art project they were doing. And it's just so therapeutic. And still now, I got an iPad, I have Procreate, but I just don't do it enough. And it's such a great outlet. I can't recommend it more highly to anyone. What do you say? What do you say? Someone like me, oh, I'm not good at art. What would you say to someone like that? To encourage them to do it?
So I think deep down everyone's an artist, and I think art is subjective and can mean something different to everyone. So I just think for me, good art is when the artist is really connected with themselves and their art has some sort of meaning to them or tells a story of some sort. I think, but then there's also artists who maybe don't do that, and it's more about just what the drawing looks like, and that's still valid and that's still art. So I think that's why I love art so much, is because there's no rules. It can be literally anything. So just, yeah, I think it's cool how it means something different to everyone.
Yes. And it's kind of like any art form, music, songs today
Mm-hmm.
mean different. They just make you feel different than, when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in this community, this VeeFriends community, the art doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
And not even the art, because I know a lot of people, Gary was the butt of a lot of jokes for his original V1 doodles, but
I love them.
yeah, I mean, it's authentic. And I love, if you listen to, a lot of his content, it was so important to him that he did them. They came from his, his hand, his brain.
Mm-hmm.
The what's beneath the characters and what they resemble to people, that's what is super important and really should be more of a focal point of the conversation versus, floor price. So let's take a step back, because I know you're a Gary fan. When was the first time you heard the name Gary V?
I honestly can't remember. It was probably at least 5 years ago. I've followed him for so long on social media, and he's I don't know, I just find him very inspirational. He's helped me through a lot, especially when I'm struggling with my mental health, or just also the idea of following society standards. And I don't know if I'd be here in this position where I am now if it wasn't for him, because I always kind of returned to his content when I was questioning whether I should be doing something, following my own path, and especially making my family happy. listening to him really made me realize like how important it is to follow my own path, even if it might upset people I'm close with in the short term, and just kind of like in the long term, everything will work out if I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. So yeah, I've just been listening to him for years.
Was there a piece of content that stuck out to you in the early days that really like just kind of elevated or just totally pivoted your perspective on any of those issues that you just mentioned?
I'm not sure if I can like remember a specific piece of content, but I have on my Instagram, on my personal Instagram, I have like a whole folder of saved posts called Mental and Success, and it's pretty much just all like posts from him. I feel like I just really resonate with a lot of his, I don't know, I think he gives a lot of really good advice to younger people, and it's about like taking risks and, you know, just kind of going against what society puts on you or your family's expectations and things like that. So I can't remember a specific piece of content, but just kind of all of it.
Mhm. So you like, you know, it feels the last year or two feels like an eternity in NFT world, but you, in some senses, are like living the dream of what everyone wants. Like you had this job that you weren't happy with, and you were able to transition to something that you love doing, NFTs, Web3, whatever it may be, full time. Was that, did you have family struggles in that? Like, was there a conversation internally like, I'm don't know if I'm ready to do this because I want to appease people in my circles?
So so I grew up with my dad, and I always wanted to make him happy, and you know, like his idea of success was like getting a good job and climbing the corporate ladder. So that's kind of why I like started down that path, even though I was so unhappy. And then I got into NFTs, and like he knows I've been making art my whole life. He has my art hanging up in his office at work, and so he's like supportive of my art. But he never thought I'd be able to make a career out of it. So once I kind of like proved to him in a way that I could make money from it, he became really supportive all of a sudden, and just kind of like one day I was so scared, but one day I decided I was going to tell him I thought I was going to quit my job, and I just did it. And he was like, okay. I didn't expect that at all. I thought he'd be
Mm-hmm.
really upset. And so he's been really supportive. And so, but there's definitely been people in my life who questioned what I was doing and was like, are you sure you should quit your job? But I knew it was the right thing. I kind of just felt it intuitively.
Oh, that's amazing. Good for you. So,
Thank you.
before we get to that point on the journey, when, and you skated over this, but when you were doing art, when was the first time you're like, oh, I should make an NFT, or I could do this?
So I think like the end of 2021, I mean, I follow Gary really closely, and I kept seeing his content about NFTs. So I was starting to think more about getting into it with my art. And then just there were like a few different people in my life who would bring up NFTs whenever I'd show them my art or something like that. And I kind of took it as a sign that I think everything's a sign from the universe. So it's like if someone keeps saying the same thing to me, I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to do it. And so I started researching it at the end of 2021, and then like more the beginning of 2022. And I just remember like watching a ton of Gary's like YouTube videos and interviews and podcasts, like all of his podcasts about NFTs, and taking notes and just trying to learn, and getting more active on Twitter. And then it was in February of this year that I listed my first collection on OpenSea. And like I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I had done all this research, but I feel like it's something that you don't really understand until you just start doing it. So I like hadn't built up a community at all, and I didn't understand how important that was. I hadn't marketed myself really at all. And so a month went by and I didn't make any sales. And then one day I decided to join a Twitter space. I think it was one of the first Twitter spaces I ever joined. It was March 14th, and it was like a Monday morning. And one of my friends from real life who's an artist was speaking in this space. It was like a shill space, and there was over 100 people in it. And so I just joined to listen, and he noticed that I joined and pinned a tweet of my art at the top and kind of like introduced me to this space. And from that, I got my first sale, which was so exciting. I didn't expect that at all. And then about an hour later, I was still like listening in a space, and they let me get up on stage and speak about my art. And I kind of just like told my whole story. And then a lot of people in the space retweeted it. And then OpenSea's Twitter saw it and they messaged me. And next thing I knew, I was on the homepage of OpenSea, sold out my entire collection in like 2 days of over 100 pieces. And it like, yeah, it changed my life.
That's it's a surreal turn of events. And so, and we're gonna get into this because I love the journaling, the manifesting. Was it like, was it like an out of body experience where you're like, all right, I knew this was happening? Was it like, talk to me about like that? Because that's amazing. Just like getting in the space and then OpenSea, like sold out, boom. Like I'm sure it happened super quick, but while you were in it, talk to us about that. Was it everything you thought it would be?
Yeah, I just never expected it. I mean, I had written down like a list of goals and like I somewhat believed, like I did believe that I could make NFTs like a full-time job eventually with my art, but I did not expect it to all happen so quickly. And so it was honestly probably one of the happiest days of my life, probably the happiest day of my life. I've never felt so, I guess it felt like the first time in my life that I felt like genuinely proud of myself, because all of my accomplishments in the past were based on what other people wanted for me. And for the first time, it was like I kind of showed myself that I could be successful doing what I loved. And it was the best feeling in the world. And it didn't feel real for a while. I was like on such a high for weeks. It was the most amazing experience. And I'm just like still so happy.
I'm so happy for you. I'm like,
thank you.
Feeling all the feels just from that months later. And this was for Interconnected Planes, which was your first project? Okay. And Realms of Reflection was number 2, right? That was your second drop?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So you said, and this was March 14th, you said?
Yeah, I remember because it was my dad's birthday. So I called him and
wow.
told him, and he was so happy. Yeah.
Oh, so cool. So flash forward, speaking of the best day of your life, just looking through, it sounds like you had a huge day on May 19th, 2022.
Yes. Yes.
Talk to us about that day, because just from like, I was just kind of doing, like, I always like to have some sense, like I feel like I know people and I want to know them better when I talk to them, but I kind of want to have the important bullet points. It sounds like you had 3 unbelievable big things happen on May 19th. And please correct me if I'm wrong. You had on the first ever Veecon, which I think is going to go down to be an historic event. On the first day, you had the POAP for 1:37 p.m. on day 1. You got to meet and greet with Gary Vee. Was that your first time?
Yeah, it was amazing.
And you got a letter from NFT.NYC or an email.
Yeah, that is true.
All on the same day. I'm just going to let you like talk to us about that day.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll kind of start with saying I didn't even know if I'd be able to go to Veecon. I had a ticket, but it was the same weekend as my stepsister's wedding. And so I was like, maybe I can go for a couple days. I was trying to figure it out. And then like a week and a half before, I talked to my stepsister and I was like, I'm really sorry, but like, would you mind if I go to Veecon? I'm being featured as a POAP, and like, not that she knew what that was, but still. And so she was very understanding. And so I decided like I would really regret it if I didn't go the full time to Veecon. So on May 19th in the morning, I flew out, and I remember I flew out really early. So I like took a nap in my hotel room before like the first day started, because everything didn't start till 5. And I went on Twitter and I saw a lot of people tweeting about how they were going to be featured at NFT.NYC, and I was like, oh, I guess I didn't get picked. I was kind of sad, but I was like, it's fine. And then I checked my email. I didn't even check my email. So I checked my email, and it said that I had been selected, and I couldn't believe it. I started freaking out. I was crying. I have a video because I was vlogging Veecon. I still didn't edit the video, but I was like crying in my hotel room. It was like the most amazing news ever. So that was great. And then at right before 5 o'clock, I Ubered over to the event, which was outside. And I didn't think about the fact that the line would be so long. And so I'm walking past the line. And when I'm like kind of by the beginning, I see this guy who I recognized because he won a giveaway and won one of my NFTs through a 1:37 p.m. giveaway. So I started talking to him. So then I got to get into the event like in the front of the line. And then I got into the line to meet Gary Vee like pretty early on. So I got to meet him, and I had my list of manifestations that I had written in February, and like one of them, I had completed all of them except that Gary Vee will buy one of my NFTs. That was the only one left, and I just wanted him to like sign it. But anyways, I talked to him, and I tried to speak quickly because there's such a long line. I forgot to give him the list to sign, but I did write him a letter. I gave him that, yeah, and it was just like the best day of my life, honestly.
Oh, so he didn't sign it in your first interaction.
Oh yeah, so I forgot. But then later in the night, I met these guys. One of them worked for Flyfish. I don't know if I should be saying this, whatever. Basically I networked my way into a Flyfish event, and Gary Vee showed up, and I got to talk to him again the next night, and he signed it there.
Oh, amazing. And I've seen a lot of cool things. There was a lot of cool things that people had signed, but a manifestation list that had come true in such a short time, and him being such a pivotal part of it, I think is just unreal, like unreal of the unreal. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I had to throw that in there. So you're on a heater, basically. You're on a serious heater on May 19th. And you tweeted on May 21st. You tweeted, "Okay, for real this time, best day of my life. Gary Vee signed my list of goals from February before I even ever sold an NFT. Now the only thing left for him is to buy one, and he said it's going to happen."
Yeah. Apparently he tells a lot of people it's going to happen, but it'll happen. I know it will.
Oh, absolutely. Like, there's no way this list is not going to be completed. Do you mind? I know you tweeted out. Do you mind if I read it?
Yeah, no worries.
So this is from February 16th. Alyssa, today's manifestations. Gary Vee will buy one or more of my NFTs. I will sell my first NFT this month. I will become part of an artist NFTs community that I'm excited about. I will buy my first NFT from an artist I admire. I will make NFTs my main source of income and leave corporate fucking America.
Yeah.
And it amazing. Like this is people's dream. Like there's not only in this community, like it's all over Web3. And you're doing it. So like, it's amazing. Like
it's crazy.
You probably are just pinching yourself every day.
Yeah. I still can't believe it.
So for let's go back to the NFT.NYC. For people that might not be aware, what does that mean to be featured at NFT.NYC?
So they had this thing called the Diversity of NFTs Showcase, and you could apply to be featured. And they selected a little over 200 artists out of like 1,500 applicants. And our art was just featured like in Times Square, on the Times Square billboards throughout the week of NFT.NYC, and then also like in the conference in a gallery. So it was really cool. I actually didn't even get to see it in real life in Times Square because every time I would go out there, I somehow missed it, but I at least saw a video of it. So I'm kind of upset that I missed it, but I got a video.
It's one of the most recognizable places in the entire world. Probably gets more foot traffic than potentially anywhere. And there's your art. Just fascinating. Like, you must have been so proud. And what did your dad say?
I remember like the day I found out I would be featured, I texted him, and he like sent me a long paragraph about he was so proud of me, and so it was really nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So let's pivot over to VeeFriends. So you said you were a Gary follower, so you probably knew all about VeeFriends. What was your kind of interest level at the time? Whether it be getting in and investing or just following in the community, where were you?
Yeah. So like once I started learning more about NFTs and getting into the NFT spaces, like I knew about VeeFriends, but I wasn't into NFTs before like last year really as much. So it wasn't more till this year that I started kind of getting more involved in the community, and it's probably like the one project that I just really admire, and I have a series 2, but one day I hope I can get a series 1. That's my goal. And I just remember like once I kind of started getting more involved in the community on Twitter, especially, it's just it's it just embodies Gary Vee. It's just a lot of like positivity. Everyone's like-minded, and it's a really cool energy. And so when VeeCon came around, it was like the most amazing experience to meet these people in real life, and it was it was like the most insane weekend. It was so amazing.
Yeah, I still can't believe, first of all, that it came and went already, but just how
Hmm.
amazing and how genuinely kind everyone was, from the team just to the
Hmm.
person that you never met that just sat next to you randomly for a talk.
Yeah,
What V2 do you have?
I have a Mojo Mouse at the pickleball court.
I love it. Was there
Yeah.
any, was that a conscious decision, or did you kind of just get one
Um,
through
I
serendipity somewhere?
there was like the Discord raffle where you could like sign up and potentially get picked to mint the series 2. So I won that. So I think like that was before the art was revealed, so I didn't know what it would be.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Amazing. And did you dabble into book games at all?
I didn't. I've been considering it, but I haven't yet. But if do you, it seems like it'd be cool. I feel like it's a good investment, but
Yeah, I mean, it's from an investment standpoint, it's super low. I mean, right now it's like 150, $160
yeah.
just to get in, which was less than the books originally.
Hmm.
Um, so cool. So do you have a good I know you're like, obviously you're working for yourself now as an artist. You're deeply in the Twitter art community and supporting other artists, and they're supporting you and they love you. That's very evident. Do you have a pulse on what's happening in VFriends? Are you in the Discord? Do you follow any of the spaces?
Yeah, so I've been in the VeeFriends Discord for a while, and I kind of go through phases. Like for a while, I was a lot more active, and lately I haven't been as active. And but still, just in the community, I think I follow a lot of people in the VeeFriends community. But I don't really join a ton of spaces. I want to join more. I'm honestly the worst at Twitter Spaces in general. I'm trying to get a lot better at that. But yeah, I definitely want to start joining more.
Are you it's interesting because I was just having this with myself the other day where I was trying to do spaces and work at the same time, and I couldn't be engaged in both because it's not like
Yeah.
music where you could just be passive. Like Twitter spaces, I want to be in and thinking. And
Mhm.
so is that like, what's your art process like when you sit down with
Yeah.
your iPad? What's
Yeah.
your setup look
I
like?
usually I have music playing, like I have headphones in and music like all the time. Um and I don't know, I just like to be comfortable. But yeah, I'm always listening to music. I can't listen to spaces if I'm making art, so that's why it's kind of hard because if I'm gonna join a Twitter space, it's like I need to like be focused and um so yeah, but when I'm drawing, I like to be alone usually, and I don't know, cause I need to like be in the zone kind of. I can't just like can draw anywhere, but I feel like to make stuff that's meaningful to me, I want to like really be focused.
Mm. Is there like, through VCon in real life or anywhere else, is do you get any kind of different vibes or juju from the V Friends community that you do in maybe other pockets in your, your art circles around?
Yeah, I think a lot of like the art community I'm involved in is more kind of like individual, like independent artists, so it doesn't feel as much of a community um versus like V Friends and like other projects. But I think because I'm not involved in like any other more like projects besides V Friends, um so I think it's a lot different, like the energy. But I don't know, I just love the V Friends community because everyone's just so positive and kind of has similar goals, and so I just love being part of the community.
To take it a step back, I like to ask people, what does that word even mean? What does the word community mean to you?
I think community is about connecting with other people who are like-minded and have kind of like similar goals or at least similar values and kind of like for V friends, I think everyone is constantly trying to grow more and everyone's so supportive of each other. And that's why I love it so much is like everyone's very uplifting. And I think that's what community should be about.
I love that. Um, and one of the tweets that I saw that stuck out was you asked people, what does art mean to you? And then you said, to me, art equals connection, which goes hand in hand with community and
Mm-hmm.
definitely evident throughout all of your art. Just to take a step back of your journey, was there anything, like we said, like this is like a dream scenario, like I'm in corporate, I hate it. Now I am working for myself and doing something I want to do. Was there anything, and it sound like if someone's listening now, they're probably like envious, um, in a good way. But is there something that happened or something that a realization you made that's like, oh, I have to do this now? Or anything that was hard to adjust to in that lifestyle? Because as someone, I left teaching two separate times. And it's interesting. One time, like I was so nervous the first time, like I literally turned on Gary's podcast because like I needed someone to like talk me through it, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the voice I needed at the time. But that's a
Mm-hmm.
story for another day. Um, like, was there anything that was surprising to you in that transition?
I think, I don't know if it's necessarily surprising, but a little bit difficult was it's like once you work for yourself, it's like everything's on you. So you have to learn to be 100% accountable, which is very important. And like having discipline and self control. And like, I tend to be kind of unorganized and bad at managing my time sometimes. So I'm really trying to work on that because I think it's so important um, when you work for yourself. Because in the past, I feel like my whole life, I've kind of like had this structure. Like when you're in school, you're doing something for someone else in a way. Like it's like very structured. And when I was working my 9 to 5, I was like working under people and I had to get things done. And so like that pressure helped me get stuff done because I always wanted to like do good work for other people. So now it's like I'm working for myself. So kind of having that accountability and kind of realizing like if like I want to make myself proud and that's kind of what pushes me to go forward and to keep working hard is like I just want to do it for myself. So it's a good feeling, but it can be difficult at times.
Mm. And are you still a team of one? Like you're doing everything, you're building the community. Um,
Yeah.
and how's that going? I know you said it was initial struggle. I know I couldn't even scroll back so far in your tweets because you have so many. But
Yeah.
like, how is that going?
It's going good. I think it's challenging doing everything on my own, but at the same time, I feel like I have this weird like control thing, not control thing, but it's like if I'm doing my own thing and it's my art and I have a specific vision, it's really hard for me to like kind of collaborate in that sense a lot of the time. So I like doing everything by myself, but um, yeah, I it's difficult sometimes because I think I have ADHD really bad, and there's like so many things constantly going through my brain, and like all these different ideas, and so I really need to work on being organized in order to get everything done. So that's probably like one of the biggest challenges for me, but it's I think like my favorite part though is growing the community. I'm always on Twitter. I love like connecting with people, and um, the one thing that I'm really trying to work on is Twitter Spaces, joining more Twitter Spaces. I want to start hosting Twitter Spaces. I think that's like such a huge part of community in Web3.
Mm. I would definitely encourage you to do that with your story and where you're coming from a mental health aspect, because yeah, it just needed from it's
Mm-hmm.
scary how young these kids are coming up with serious baggage and serious misconceptions about themselves,
Yeah.
from what they've experienced. So yeah, that's my unsolicited advice for you. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, no, it sounds like you're doing awesome. So what are you working on now? What can we be on the lookout for from you?
So I'm
Shill away,
actually
please shill away.
I'm dropping 3 one-of-ones on First Dibs. It's like a marketplace that's been around for a long time, and they now have NFTs as well. And I kind of like met with them, and it seems like a really cool platform. So that's why I'm doing that. And then I'll also be dropping some NFTs on Foundation soon. I'm kind of working on some stuff, but yeah. So later this week, I'll have 3 one-of-ones that I'm starting to share more details about throughout the week. So I'm really excited for that.
Amazing. And the best place for people to connect with you is Twitter. Do you have a Discord?
I have a Discord. I am not great at Discord. I feel like it's really hard for me to connect with people on Discord. I don't know. Like some people are great at it, but I'd say Twitter I'm mostly active on. But if you go to my Twitter, which is Alyssa Stevens _, it has like a little Linktree, link fire thing with all my links. So like my Discord link is in there, and my Instagram, TikTok, and everything.
And I'll definitely link that up too.
Okay.
I skip. Forgive me. I have ADHD too, undiagnosed.
Yeah,
So
same.
I'm skipping around all over. But I really, this is for historical purposes. I'm very interested in this. When and how / when did you find out that you were going to be the POAP for Veecon through 1:37 p.m.?
So I remember my friend that I like met at 137, Nick Anderson. He is the one that interviewed me on their space. Um, So actually, I'll just kind of give a little backstory. 1:37 p.m. reached out to me a little after, like I got on the homepage and everything, and I had a meeting with 2 people there, and one of them was Nick, and we were talking and found out that like we lived close to each other because we're both in Massachusetts. So the next day, like me and him, and then one of my artist friends in real life, we all hung out, which was really cool. And so then I think a couple months later, after I did the space with them and everything, my friend Nick called me and told me to check my email. So I checked my email, and it said it was from 137 asking if I would want to do a POAP with them for Veecon. And it was just like, I was so excited. It was so cool.
That's fantastic. Nick is a great dude. I
Yeah.
had a chance to meet him at VeeCon, and then again during NFT.NYC, I get to swoop in to the cafe for a hot minute.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Like that's the ultimate. Like day one, like you're the first.
Yeah.
So cool. So when a lot of people, and you've already given some advice, what would you suggest from any? Because there's a lot of young people. I'm noticing a lot of young people, even like in the VeeFriends community, creating art. What's like one piece of advice that you would give for creating on the daily or being consistent, because consistency is hard, whether it's doing the 4 TikToks a day thing or posting on an Instagram or creating unbelievable art. Like what is a piece of advice you could offer this community and anyone?
I think what's really helpful to remain consistent is to kind of like give yourself constant reminders of why you're doing it, and whether it's like making notes around your desk or changing like your phone background to something that motivates you, so you can constantly remind yourself like this is why I'm doing it. And like I don't know, I think that helps me a lot because I can struggle with that. So yeah, just constantly reminding yourself. Like I have my list of manifestations that's signed by Gary like framed in my room on my desk so I can see it every day. And it's even some days if I maybe don't feel like doing any work or something, because it's so easy now that this is my full-time job, I can just easily be like, I don't want it today. But like that's not gonna lead me in the right direction. I need to keep being consistent, and seeing that really pushes me to keep going.
I love that. Do you journal every day?
I try to. Sometimes I don't, but yeah, that's something I'm trying to get more consistent about. Is I think journaling helps me a lot, and especially gratitude journaling. I honestly think maybe that's how I kind of manifested a lot of things. I think that's really important, is like when you take the time to really like think about what you're grateful for, it kind of brings you more to the present moment and makes you just view all the little things. And it helps me because sometimes I feel like I get stuck in a negative mindset and especially for people struggling with their mental health. I think gratitude journaling can be like the most helpful thing in the world.
I totally agree. I had a really great phase of my life where I was doing it every day, and it's just like a shield of armor, like for you for the rest of the day. Like it's just hard for things to penetrate when you have that. And obviously Gary talks about it all the time, and it comes I think a lot more natural for him. But it's like nothing phases you. Not nothing, but I think you know what I mean. Like it's just hard to penetrate with the little mundane stuff if you have this foundation of gratitude. So I'm with you. Like I try. I know that it does wonders. I know it really can just transform your output and your energy, but it's the consistency thing. It's just hard. Amazing. So again, in the show, I'm gonna give you Alyssa's Linktree and definitely her OpenSea link and all the good stuff. Is there anything else you are wondering, anything that you on your mind that you want to share to our VeeFam community before we head into our last segment here?
I can't think of anything, just that I'm so happy to be part of this community. And I'm just really excited for next year's Veecon. I'm excited to continue connecting with everyone in the community.
Is there a 1VF1 that you want? You said you were like one day that's the goal. Is there one that's kind of out there, or just one day it'll happen when the time's right?
I really like the Kind Warrior. I don't know. There's a few others I like, but I think Kind Warrior would be really cool to have.
Love it. So this last segment is called Micro, Macro, Spitfire. So I'm going to ask you a lot of quick questions. You can do a macro, just yes, no, general answer, or you can get really specific and micro on what you want to talk about. All right. So if someone is just getting into NFTs or Web3 for the first time, who is someone they need to follow on Twitter?
Gary Vee. Is that too basic?
No, there's no wrong answer. A favorite teacher you had growing up and one reason why?
Oh my God. I liked, my 8th grade English teacher, Mr. Needs, because he was just really kind and friendly, and I would always see him outside of class, and like, he was just so nice, just kind.
I love it. Who's one person that has supported your work that you just want to give a rose to?
I want to give a rose to, honestly, my dad, because even though he loved that I was working in corporate America, he's always been supportive of my art and always saved my art over the years.
If there was if something happened to our phones and you could only keep one social media platform, which one would you keep?
Twitter.
Friends or The Office?
The Office.
If you want to do what you do you start with the art or start with the community?
For me, I started with the art, but I think typically most projects are more successful when they start with the community.
Are you going on a nice hiking camping trip for 2 nights? Or are you staying up in a bougie hotel?
That's hard. Honestly, bougie hotel.
I love it. Gratitude gorilla or patient pig?
Gratitude gorilla.
Would you rather have a 2-hour group dinner experience with Gary, you and 9 other people for 2 hours, or a 10-minute one-on-one?
10-minute one-on-one.
And if you could ask Gary one question, what would it be?
That's so hard. If I had to ask Gary one question, I guess, what is the meaning of life to you?
Amazing.
I feel like I know everything about Gary from his content, so that's a hard question.
I thought you were going to go somewhere with when are you going to buy a piece of my art.
I did think of that too.
I love how you went more meta. I want to share one last tweet before I thank you again. May 11th, you tweeted, "I always felt in my heart that I was put on this earth to connect with people through my art." So I love that. And the more I actually looked at your art, I really, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, like I felt myself generally appreciating art more and feeling it. So like when the time is right, I'm going to definitely become an investor. And you've definitely won me over as a fan. And I can't thank you enough for taking your time and being on this. And really, I hope to stay connected and definitely meet at the next VeeCon, if not before.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy I got to come on here.
All right. Thanks so much, Alyssa.
Thanks.